Good morning. I welcome you to our Indian polity classes, sources of the Indian Constitution. Let's try to finish up this today. We have seen certain things like Government of India Act of 1935, US Constitution, UK, and Irish Constitution. From these areas, what did we borrow? We try to understand. Let me open the document straight away. We'll try to have a discussion more on this. Now, look at this. So from Canadian Constitution, we have borrowed a concept called residuary powers with the central government. What do you mean by this residuary powers? See, basically, I told you one point. India is a federation where the powers are divided between central government and state government. But I also told you one concept. The word federation is nowhere mentioned in the Constitution. These are the points we have understood. But there is a schedule called 7th schedule that is present in the Constitution. That 7th schedule mentions about the subjects on which central government can take the decision and the subjects on which the state governments can take the decision. And there are some other subjects where the decision can be taken by both the central government and state governments. So hence, schedule number 7 is talking in terms of the federation, where there is a division of the powers. That is the basic idea with respect to the so-called the federation. But here I am using a different concept that is called residuary powers. Constitution has explained the meaning of the residuary powers. When we come to that area, I'll give you in which article the residuary powers are mentioned. Clear? So slowly we'll try to learn all the things. But now I would like to tell you the meaning of the residuary powers, so that tomorrow if you come across with this word, you will be in a position to understand. That's what my intention is. Let me open the document and I will show it to you. Okay. Now, I'll just type. I would like to type certain things on the document. For example, see here, I'm talking to you about the residuary powers. Already I told you there is something called Schedule 7 in the Indian Constitution. So this schedule talks about the subjects that are present in the union list, subjects that are present in the state list, and the subjects that are present in the concurrent list. So these are the 3 lists that I have in the Constitution here. So accordingly, all the subjects that are present here, the laws can be made by the parliament. The parliament can make the laws. When it comes to the subjects that are present in the state here, the state legislature can make the laws on this. Right? So we know all these points. When it comes to this one, it is both the parliament and the state legislatures can make the laws. Kindly understand, remember these points. Hence, if you want to make any law, that subject must be present in either union list or state list or in the concurrent list. Accordingly, the concerned authority, either the parliament or the state legislature, will make a law. This is the fundamental point. Now, tomorrow there may be a situation that is arising where we will come across with a new subject. At the time of commencement of the Constitution itself, we cannot expect that every subject should be present in the Constitution and in the 7th schedule. There may be so many new areas are coming into the picture because of the new technology is also coming into development. During that time, the situation may be demanding the parliament or the state legislature to make a law on any of the subjects. During this time, what will happen? If it is present in the union list, parliament is making. If it is present in the state list, state legislature is making a law. But whenever a new subject comes into the picture, I am talking to you regarding this. Whenever the new subject comes into the picture, on this one, if you want to make a law, who should make a law? For this reason, first of all, the constitution has to be amended and that new subject must be placed either in the union list or in the state list or in the concurrent list. But for this reason, definitely it is going to take some time. Parliament cannot take any decision on its own. Parliament must also speak to the state legislatures, meaning the central government must talk to the state government and it should take their consent whether the new subject can be added in the union list or the state list or the concurrent list. So it may be definitely taking some time. Obviously, it may take maybe 6 months, 1 year, or sometimes more than that. But till the time, if you want to make a law on this new subject, so who should make the law? And this law making power for a new subject that is not present in the seventh schedule, that power has been given to the parliament by the Indian Constitution. And that power of the central government is called residuary power. Very, very, very important here. Again, hope you are following. If it is present in the union list, that is the power of the central government. If it is in the state list, that is the power of the state government. If it is in the concurrent list, either parliament or the state legislature can make a law. But when it comes to a subject which is completely new in nature, even then somebody is permitted to make a law, and that somebody is nothing but none other than the parliament. And that power of the central government is called residuary powers. Okay, hope you are getting it. This is one of the important areas in the constitution, please. Kindly remember, whatever the laws that are being made by the parliament or whatever the laws that are being made by the state legislatures, every subject must be present in the seventh schedule. If the subject is not present, still you can make the laws, and that law making power lies with the parliament, and that power is called the residuary powers. Am I clear? But what are the subjects on which union legislature will make a law? On what subjects the state legislatures will make a law? And if it is concurrent list, if both state legislature and parliament makes a law, what will happen? We'll try to understand over a period of time. Is that okay? So meaning there is a possibility of the clash. If the clash is there between the parliament and the state legislature, what will happen? We'll try to understand over a period of time. But time being, kindly remember what is the meaning of the residuary powers. Hopefully, I am clear. And when it comes to that residuary powers, we have borrowed it from Canadian Constitution. That is a point for now. Now, again, I'm opening the document. Kindly have a look at this. Look at this. Next one. When it comes to the Canadian Constitution, we have also borrowed another concept called federation with a strong center. Kindly remember, when I have started the sources of the Indian Constitution, I have also used the word federation. The concept of a federal scheme was borrowed from the Government of India Act of 1935. But now I am talking to you a concept called federation with a strong center. What do you mean by this? Now, so federation in the sense we have understood, that is nothing but the division of the powers. As long as at the state level, if the things are happening in a regular manner, in a smooth manner, and in accordance with the provisions of the Constitution, the central government cannot interfere with the activities of the state government. This is how the federation concept will come into picture. So when I'm talking about the division of the powers, under normal circumstances, central government cannot interfere with the working of the state governments. But sometimes there may be a situation where the state governments will fail, or the central government may anticipate the situation has arisen where we need to take the control of the state governments. Every provision has been explained in a detailed manner by the Constitution of India. But during those circumstances, the situation may be called emergency situation. And during that emergency situation, the central government takes a complete control over the state governments. Example, it may be national emergency, it may be president's rule, it may be the financial emergency. Meaning, though we are talking in terms of the federation, India is not a complete federation. India is not a true federation. Depending on the circumstances, the central government may take over the state government. As long as everything is fine and cool, nothing will happen. But during the abnormal situations, the central government may take over the state governments. Of course, that is not expected to be continued for a long period of time. Kindly remember, federal scheme, we borrowed it from Government of India Act 1935. But this is a different concept I am talking here. Federation with a strong center. It has been borrowed from Canadian Constitution. Hopefully I'm clear. Now, I'm shifting to the next point. Let's try to see what exactly is this, right? Look at the statement, please. The appointment of the state governors by the central government. See, unlike United States of America, in India, the governors are appointed. But whereas in United States of America, the governors at the state level, they are elected. And we have adopted a concept of appointing the governors by the central government. And this has been taken from the Canadian Constitution. Now, next one I am highlighting here. This is called advisory jurisdiction of the Supreme Court. What do you mean by this advisory jurisdiction? Sometimes the Constitution, the central government may seek the opinion from the state governments. So during the time, the central government will try to advise the so-called the President of India. The Constitution permitted that the President of India can seek the advice from the Supreme Court, and that advice is not binding on the President. Meaning, the central government will exercise these powers through the President of India, and there is one article called Article 143. Through that article, the President is seeking the advice. And this concept we have borrowed it from, again, the Canadian Constitution. Kindly look at this. We have seen 4 points here. Canadian Constitution. From here, we have borrowed residuary powers. Yes, we have understood what is the meaning of the residuary powers. Next one. If you go to the second line, second point is the federation with a strong center. Normally, India enjoys the position of the federation. But during abnormal situations, the federation concept may be lost because it is the strong center that is present in the country. Next one, the appointment of the state governors by the central government. And the last one is the advisory jurisdiction of the Supreme Court. Okay, now I'm going to the next line. Look at this. So we have another constitution, that is a South African Constitution. From here, we have borrowed the concept of amendment procedure of the Constitution. In the beginning of our classes itself, we have understood what is the meaning of the amendment of the Constitution and what is the procedure to amend the Constitution. Of course, some more points are there. I need to add it. And when I come to that area of amendment procedure that is mentioned in article number 368 of the Indian Constitution. And when I come to that area, so we'll have a detailed discussion regarding the amendment and the amendment procedures. That is number one. Number two, when it comes to this particular procedure, that procedure has been borrowed from South African Constitution. Kindly remember this point. Okay, now, and at this stage, if you can remember this one, you can just remember this. In India, this amendment procedure has been mentioned under article number 368. Just remember, because in some of the examinations, they are asking even the article numbers also. And when it comes to the civil services examination, in the examination, you have to quote some of the articles. Without quoting articles also, you will get the marks, there is no doubt. But if you go quote the articles now and then in the examination, definitely that will carry some weightage and you will be getting more marks. That's the advantage. Kindly don't neglect any concept, whatever I am telling you in the class. So hopefully you will be mentioning these article numbers in the examination, and that will be an added advantage to you for getting more number of marks. Okay, right. Now, I'm opening the document again. Look at this. Now, so next one is a method of election of the members to the upper house. We have already seen upper house is nothing but the Rajya Sabha. So that is the Council of States. So when it comes to the Council of States, we have both elected members and we also have the nominated members. When it comes to the members nominated, that we have borrowed it from Ireland Constitution, Irish Constitution. But now I am talking to you regarding the election of the members to the upper house, and that was borrowed from the so-called the South African Constitution. Meaning I am talking to you only about the Rajya Sabha, where I have two categories of members. One is the elected and second one is the nominated. When it comes to elected members, that procedure we have borrowed it from the South African Constitution. But when it comes to the nomination of the members, we have borrowed it from Ireland Constitution. Okay, kindly remember this. We'll move to some other points. Look at this. So here we have the concept of this fundamental duties and ideals of justice. So these two things we have borrowed it from USSR. Of course, it is no more existing. It got disintegrated in the year 1991. But during that time, in India, the concept of fundamental duties were borrowed from the so-called USSR. But kindly remember one point. It is not mentioned in the original constitution. This is the important point for me. This is not mentioned in the original DINAL constitution. And you know the meaning of this. When I told you this original constitution, I already explained to you the meaning of this. So this is the constitution as it was adopted and it came into force. So during that time. And very next year, in the year 1951, we have amended the constitution. That was the first amendment of the constitution. When it comes to that first amendment, till the constitution amended for the first time, it was called the original constitution. But once it has been amended, it has lost its originality. But I am talking to you regarding the original constitution. In that original constitution, there is no mention of the fundamental duties. Over a period of time, in the year 1976, through the 42nd amendment, these fundamental duties were added to the constitution. During that time, the source of the fundamental duties in the Indian constitution was the Constitution of USSR. And when I come to the topic of fundamental duties, we'll have a detailed discussion regarding that. But just remember one point. At the time, 10 fundamental duties were added to the Indian Constitution. Over a period of time, one more duty has been added. As of today, we have 11 fundamental duties that are mentioned in the Constitution. But we'll have a detailed discussion. I will show you all the fundamental duties and we'll try to have a discussion. Okay. With respect to the fundamental duties, especially in the civil services main examination, the most possible and probable question is that they are asking the candidates to list out the fundamental duties. If you can list out all the fundamental duties 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 up to 11, that will give you 100% of the marks. But when I come to the topic, I'll tell you what is the meaning of the each one, and I want you to remember the whole fundamental duties 1 to 11. But otherwise, remember the concept of fundamental duties. Number 1, it was not mentioned in the original Constitution. Number 2, it was added through the 42nd Amendment in the year 1976. Kindly remember, at the time, Srimati Indira Gandhi was the Prime Minister of India. Okay. And anyway, we have come across with the word 42nd Amendment of the Constitution. Kindly remember, 42nd Amendment of the Constitution is also criticized as the mini Constitution. It is a criticism, it is not a praise, rather. That is called mini Constitution. What do you mean by this? When I use the word mini Constitution, through the single amendment, 42nd Amendment, with the one stroke, Srimati Indira Gandhi government, it wanted to amend major portions of the Indian Constitution. And it happened during the time of emergency, 1975 to 1977. It was the period of emergency in India. And during that time, there was a strong attempt made by the government to modify the Constitution in a larger extent. Hence, it is a criticism against this 42nd Amendment, and it is called mini Constitution. And when it comes to 42nd Amendment, very frequently we are going to come across with this particular amendment. Hence, this is the most important amendment, and at the same time most controversial amendment also. And we'll try to have a discussion as and when we encounter this 42nd Amendment. Okay, now look at this. Next statement, I am showing it to you. Fundamental duties not mentioned in the original Constitution, but added through the 42nd Amendment. Just remember this. Okay. And next one is the ideals of justice. It is the ideals of justice. It is a social, economic, and political justice. Kindly remember, we have these three words that are mentioned in the preamble. And this is the concept of the justice. And every person should have the social justice, economic justice, and also the political justice. 1, 2, 3. And deliberately, the constitutional framers have kept economic and political justice after the social justice. Meaning, social justice has been given predominance over the economic justice and political justice. That is the reason very frequently we say there is no meaning for social justice, there is no meaning for economic justice and political justice without social justice. This is the basic idea. And when I speak to you regarding the preamble of Indian Constitution, we'll have a detailed discussion regarding ideals of the justice. And this also we have borrowed it from the USSR. Next one, what did we borrow from France? Look at this. Right? So from this French Constitution, we have borrowed the concept of the republic. What do you mean by republic? Kindly remember this one. Whenever I use the word republic here, India is a republic. For that matter, any country in the world is republic. Any country in the world is republic provided the head of the nation is elected. Head of the nation in India, this is the president. And we have already seen, so the president is elected through some procedures. But there is a concept of election. There is an element of election that is involved. And only through that procedure, the president of India will be elected and he will become the topmost person in the country, and that is the highest office in the country. Hence, India is a republic. For that matter, you look at any country in the world, maybe France, maybe America, maybe any other country, if the president of that country is elected, then that country is called a republic. Okay, kindly remember this point. And the concept of republic, we have borrowed it from French Constitution. And I will tell you some more points. What is the meaning of the republic when I speak to you regarding the preamble. Next one, we also come across the concept of ideals of liberty, equality, and fraternity in the preamble. So when we start reading the preamble, we'll come to know all these words: liberty, equality, and fraternity in the preamble. These concepts also we have borrowed it from France. Again, we'll have a detailed discussion regarding liberty, equality, fraternity, each one when we speak in the preamble. Okay, but kindly remember, till that time, from France we have borrowed it. Next one. So from Germany Constitution, we have borrowed the concept of suspension of fundamental rights during the emergency. What do you mean by this? See, I told you already, in India, under the Constitution, we have 6 fundamental rights today. And we always use the word, these fundamental rights are not absolute. Not absolute means they are not finals. Meaning, under normal circumstances, the people of the country can enjoy the fundamental rights. These fundamental rights can be enjoyed during the normal circumstances, but there may be a situation called emergency situation. And during that emergency situation, the concept of fundamental rights will be lost. So there are 6 fundamental rights which are covered under Articles 14 to 32 in the Indian Constitution, and we'll try to have a discussion regarding that one later. But when I am using the word, the fundamental rights are not absolute, under normal circumstances, the citizens can enjoy all the fundamental rights, but during difficult situations, troubled situations, and emergency situations, some fundamental rights can be suspended. That is the reason why we are using the word fundamental rights are suspended during the emergency. And when I'm talking about this emergency, so this is the national emergency I'm talking about. The Indian Constitution has mentioned about national emergency, president's rule, and the financial emergency. But whenever the national emergency has been imposed, it will have an impact. It will have an impact on the fundamental rights. Hence, the country and the people don't expect the situations of emergency will be occurring in India. If they are happening, the situation will become worse. But what is national emergency? In order to understand this, first of all, we need to understand what are the fundamental rights. In part 3 of the Indian Constitution, we'll understand fundamental rights. And when we go to over a period of time, when I reach article number 352, I'll be telling you what is the meaning of the national emergency. Let's understand the meaning of that. After that, I'll tell you what is the impact of national emergency on the fundamental rights. All right, after some long period of time, I am going to talk to you. But for today, I want you to remember that suspension of the fundamental rights will take place during the national emergency. Am I clear? Next. Next one, I am opening the document. Look at the document here. Now, Australian Constitution. And we know what is the meaning of this Australian Constitution. From here, we have borrowed the concept of concurrent list. Number two, we also borrowed the concept of the joint sitting of the two houses of the parliament. We know what is the meaning of the joint session, right? And this concept has been borrowed from Australian Constitution. And if you look at number one, that is the concurrent list. This concept was also taken from Australian Constitution. Like this, of course, one more is there. From Japan, we have borrowed the concept of functions of the Supreme Court. So like this, we have borrowed various concepts from various constitutions. That is the reason why Indian Constitution is considered to be a borrowed constitution, right? So this is the story that is related to the sources of the Indian Constitution. Very fastly, we'll just have a recap. I want to go for a recap of these fundamental rights. I'm sorry, because of the sources of the Constitution. Because each and every word what I have used is very, very important for me to understand the whole Constitution in a better manner. That is number one. That is the reason. Let me go through all the sources very fastly once. And after that, I have some questions. I will also show you those questions and we can understand what type of questions are being asked in the examination. I am going back to the document. We'll see both the points and also the questions what I have with me. Now look at this. I'm going to the top here. Yeah, sources of the Indian Constitution. Number one is that Government of India Act of 1935. Kindly go through all the points, please. The first one is it is the major source of the Indian Constitution. Why it is a major source? We have already discussed. From here, we have borrowed the concepts of federal scheme, office of governor, and public service commissions. Okay. Now, later we have come across with the US Constitution, and from here we have borrowed all these concepts here. One is the judicial review, fundamental rights, independent judiciary, impeachment procedure of the president, the vice president of India, acting as a chairman of the upper house, and the last one is the removal procedure of the Supreme Court and High Court judges. Okay. Now, next is the British Constitution. This also we have understood. Rule of law. Everybody is equal before the law, and there is an exemption for two important offices in the country. One is the Rashtrapati Bhavan, second one is the Raj Bhavan. Next one. Next one is the parliamentary form of government, followed by single citizenship. In India, we have single citizenship for all the states except Jammu and Kashmir. Regarding Jammu and Kashmir, let us deal separately when we come across with article number 370 of the Indian Constitution. Cabinet system, followed by the legislative procedure, followed by the bicameralism. Okay. Now, after this, we have seen Ireland Constitution. The first one we come across with is the directive principles of state policy. The remaining words are okay for me, but the most important word for me is the so-called this state. I explained you in a very detailed manner regarding the meaning of the word state. Kindly remember what I told you regarding the word state. Next one is the nomination of the members to the upper house, followed by the election method of the president. All these things we have borrowed it from Ireland Constitution, that is called Irish Constitution. And from Canada, we have borrowed the concept of residuary powers. And in this particular area, just now I have explained you what is the meaning of the residuary powers. Okay, kindly remember this. Next, apart from this, we have also borrowed the concepts called federation with strong center. Yes, India is a federation with a strong centers. Appointment of the state governors by the central government, followed by advisory jurisdiction of the Supreme Court. Everything we have borrowed it from Canadian Constitution. Now, from South Africa, we borrowed the concept of amendment procedure of the Constitution, and in India, in our Constitution, this amendment procedure is mentioned in Article 368. I asked you to remember the article number. Kindly remember this. Next one, the method of election of the members to the upper house. Okay, upper house is nothing but Rajya Sabha. We know that Rajya Sabha members are elected. How do you elect them? This procedure was borrowed from South African Constitution. Okay, next, if you look at this USSR, from here we have borrowed the concept called fundamental duties. Of course, not originally mentioned in the Constitution, but later it has been added through 42nd Amendment. And the next one is the ideals of justice, social justice, economic justice, and political justice. What is the meaning of this? We'll try to understand more about this when I am dealing with the preamble and also the directive principles of the state policy. During that time, we'll try to understand much more. Okay. From France, we have borrowed the concept called republic. I told you what is the meaning of the republic. Any country in the world is called a republic if the head of the nation is elected. That is the meaning of republic. In India also, the president is elected. Hence, India is a republic. Apart from this, we also borrowed the concepts of ideals of liberty, equality, and fraternity in the preamble. Right? Now, from Germany Constitution, that is Weimar Constitution, we borrowed suspension of the fundamental rights during the emergency. And when I'm using the word emergency in the brackets, I have given you the national emergency. During other two emergencies, fundamental rights are not suspended. Only during the national emergency, fundamental rights may be suspended. Next, from Australian Constitution, we have borrowed two concepts. One is the concurrent list, and second one is the joint sitting of the two houses of the Parliament. This is what we have borrowed from Australian Constitution, right? And after this, I told you the functions of the Supreme Court. This we have borrowed it from Japan Constitution. So now I'll show you some questions here. What I have with me. Look at this. It was a question sometime back, long time back, asked the UPSC. Which one of the following is a feature common to both the Indian Federation and the American Federation? India is also a federation, America is also a federation, but there is a huge difference between these two. But the question is regarding what is the future which is common for both India and America. Both are federations. Number one, if you look at A, single citizenship. When it comes to the single citizenship, we have single citizenship in India, but in America, it is a dual citizenship. Three lists in the Constitution that is mentioned in India. Constitution, and those constitutions have mentioned their legislative Yeah. Can you hear me now? So there was a little problem again. So hopefully everything is back. Everything is on the stream. Yeah, sometimes some technical issues. Okay, right. So now again, let me open the document for you. I'll share the document. So it seems the document is missing. Just a moment. I'll open the document for you. Just kindly hold on. This hold. Just a moment. I'm searching for the document. Yeah. Now let's try to see this. I'll open the document. Yes, I got it here now. So this is what we have seen. And when it comes to this, the Indian parliamentary system is different from the British parliamentary system in that India has the system of judicial review, right? So we know what is the meaning of the judicial review, we understood. But when it comes to the British government, in British, there is an absence of judicial review. For example, look at this in India, we have divided the powers between legislature, parliament, executive, and the judiciary. And the anything I can challenge in the court of law, and that is nothing but the judiciary, judicial review. But the concept of judicial review is very much absent in United Kingdom. The meaning is simple. The Parliament of United Kingdom is very, very powerful. And this Parliament of UK is considered to be mother of all the parliaments in the world, in fact. And there is a saying that the Parliament of UK can make and unmake anything. Meaning the Parliament is supreme in United Kingdom. But when it comes to India, there is nothing like any supreme authority, but the government, the constitution has divided the powers of the government into three categories. So legislature, executive, and the judiciary, they enjoy the equal powers and they will try to act in a manner where there will be some checks and balances. Each organ will be checking the other organ so that the balance will be maintained. This is the basic idea with respect to the Indian system. Hence, we also have the concept of judicial review, but this is missing in British. Okay, but kindly remember, in British, the parliament is more powerful. It can make and unmake anything. That is the basic idea. Okay, now I'll go to the next line. We have one more question, I believe. Let's try to see here. Again, the same thing. Match list 1 with the list 2. List 1, we have items in the Indian Constitution. List 2, we have country from which it was derived. Again, you can do it very easily. A, B, C, D. Look at this. Directive principles of state policy, fundamental rights, concurrent list. India as a union of states with greater powers to the union. Meaning, India is a federation with a strong center. Clear? Look at this. In 1, 2, 3, 4, you have Australia, Canada, Ireland, UK, and USA. Match it very fast. You can do it very easily. Over. DPSP. Yes, you know this. It is from Ireland. Fundamental rights from United States of America. Concurrent list we have seen from Australia. Federation with strong center, we borrowed it from Canada. So obviously the answer should be, it should be D here. You can match it very clearly. Directive principles of state policy, Ireland. Fundamental rights, United States of America. Concurrent list, we got it from number 1, Australia. Federation with a strong center, that is India as a union of states with a greater power to the union, that we borrowed it from Canada. Okay, now I think this is the end of the story, I believe. So we have these points. Now, next. Here I'm coming back onto the screen here. Kindly see it. So this sources of Indian Constitution is very, very important for us. Please revise this thoroughly, and I want you to be very thorough with each and every word what we have used here. And there is another topic called, that is salient features of the Indian Constitution, that we are going to deal tomorrow. And that topic is also important for us because we are coming across with some terminology. Once the topic is over, we're looking into the making of the Indian Constitution. And after that, let's open the Constitution and let's try to read one topic after the other. First, let's deal with the preamble. I'll be taking enough time to deal with the preamble itself because that is another area where I am coming across with the most important words of the Indian Constitution. So the whole essence of the Indian Constitution is present in the preamble. Hence, we'll be spending some time on that. And after that, we'll just open and we'll go into the Constitution. Part 1, Part 2, Part 3, Part 4. Every point I will be explaining you in a detailed manner. Is that clear? And for today, I'll stop it here. Tomorrow morning for Indian polity, again we'll be meeting with a new topic, that is salient features of the Indian Constitution. Okay. So thank you so much for being with me this morning. I wish you all the very, very best. Take care.